Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today's video is going to be all about credit cards and taking one out, the risks that you should be aware of, and just some key tips and hints. I'll also be talking about understanding interest rates that apply towards a credit card, but it will also help you when applying it to other products and services that you may want to take out in the future. So why am I doing this video today? Because I feel like there's a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to taking out credit cards. There's a lot of things such as interest rates where young people will take out a credit card and not really understand the concept of an interest rate, and when they do have a chance to get their head around it, it's a little bit too late. But yeah, so I'm here to help you understand all of that, and hopefully after the video you can either go away with some knowledge and know what products to look out for, and hopefully for those that already have one of these services or products and think it's not right for them, at least you now know what you can do moving forward. As you can see, I've got my whiteboard today. If you know me, you know I'm a big visual person. I love to try and see things. It just makes things so much clearer, and it just makes a bit more fun, I guess. But yeah, let's get into it. What is a credit card? So for those that don't know, a credit card is basically a card that is issued to those that are eligible for it in the UK, and it's got a loan amount that you're given, known as a credit limit, and that varies based on your individual circumstances and what the bank wants to lend you. A lot of the time you can just go in and apply. A lot of the time you may find, as well as a younger person, you will get a letter through your door sometime around now, usually saying, oh, you're eligible for one of our credit cards, if the bank that you're banking with provides that service, which I will get onto later. You can use those funds however you want, basically, with obviously an understanding that you will be paying back a minimum instalment every month, and you can also, you know, pay as much as you want on top of that. To be eligible for a credit card, you do have to be 18 years old and over. That is the minimum age requirement. You are not required to have a full-time job. What they base your eligibility on, I can't even say the word. What they base your I'm not going to say it again. What they base that on is basically your income in comparison to how much loan you want to take out. If you notice that if you do get a letter through the post from your bank saying, oh, you're eligible for this card, whatever, the limit will be very small. It's usually like £200-300, and that is literally because they can see your income is probably a part-time wage or quite a small wage. They can see you're a student, etc., and they're just giving you this credit card in a sense as promotion. I call them promotional credit cards just because they are asking you if you want to take one out, not necessarily you need one. You're not necessarily going into the bank saying you need a loan. They're kind of just selling it to you. So you do need to watch out for that, and you do need to just be careful not to just take it up straight away, because what will happen is that credit limit will then extend, and that is kind of how you get trapped. There is a really good link that I have just to check if you are eligible for one. I'll put it in the description box below. You can just go on there, fill out a couple of details about yourself, fill out how much you would like to loan, and what it will do is generate all the credit card companies out there and show you which ones will take you on for that amount. These promotional credit cards have a very high interest applied to them, and as young people, you are inclined to kind of go for it. However, like I just said, interest rates. I'll tell you a quick story about myself.
When I was 18, I had a car. I got my first car, and I was working a full-time job. However, I knew that I was going back into university. Wasn't really sure of how my finance situation would be, etc., etc. I got a letter through the door offering me a credit card, so I kind of thought, oh yeah, like, it's going to be really good. It's going to boost my credit score up, and it was for about a £400 limit. I took that out. Everything was going fine. If I spent anything, I could put it back. I knew it was kind of £400.
And what happened later on, as the years went by, they kept extending my credit limit, and it just became harder and harder to pay it back. Now, what I will say is that they do send you a letter giving you the option to opt out. So the letter usually says something like, we're going to extend your credit limit. If you don't want us to do this, then give us a call on so and so and so. The only problem with that is at 18/19, if they're offering you more money, there's a very low chance that you're just going to say, oh no, I'm all right, I don't need it, or yeah, babes, I'll call them. At that age, you're not really thinking about what you can manage. It's okay, here's here's extra money, have it. So a big tip there is, if you are in that situation, if you are feeling like I've just got that letter through the door, take considerable amount of time to really think if you really do need to extend that credit limit. And if you don't, just give them a call straight away and, you know, limit the credit to what you're comfortable with. I'm 22 now and I am still paying off this credit card. And a couple of weeks ago, actually,
I went back to the branch and I had a meeting with one of the advisors, and I kind of just wanted to discuss my options. So I said, where can I go from here? Like, what can I do? And he actually told me that my credit card is at 32% interest rate.
32% interest rate.
And I was just so blown away by that, because I said, oh my God, like, so for every amount that I pay back, basically 32% interest gets added on. But yes, so at that point I was like, oh my God, so what's my options? Where do I go from here? And he offered me something called a balance transfer, which is kind of what I want to explain to you guys, and the pros of it as well as the cons, because they won't tell you the cons. So this is why I'm here to tell you the cons. So a balance transfer, basically, if you have a credit limit that's really, really high, and you're struggling to pay it off and your interest is really high on top of it, you can get something called a balance transfer, which means that you can basically take out another credit card with a smaller interest amount, and what you can do is actually just move all those funds into that credit card, shut that account down, and continue paying it off with a much less amount of interest involved. Some of them do maybe cost, I don't know, I think the most I've seen is maybe 50 or 70 pounds to do that switch, but it is possible, and it is something that I would recommend definitely. If you are in that kind of situation where you've noticed I'm paying way too much interest, then I would definitely recommend that you go and have a look at a balance transfer. All the main banks and all the main bank branches do them, and that's the good thing about it, is that if you are in that situation, there is a way out. However, that usually works really, really well for someone that's in full-time employment, has regular income, and is pretty steady and stable. If you are a student with a part-time job, you're constantly in and out doing different things, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, and it's something that you guys need to know from
now.
Going back to my story of when I was 18, I worked a full-time job. That is what I got accepted on, and the credit card limit that they accepted me on was for £400. Now, as that increased, they no longer go by what she's doing, is she eligible for it? They're going by how well is she paying it off. And I would say I managed my money quite well. I've never missed a payment. So they kept extending it. Now, at this point, I had finished my full-time job and I had left for university, and I'd gone for a part-time job. And I was still paying it off, everything was fine, but the credit card limit kept expanding. And again, like I say, there was no one to really tell me to sit down and think about whether I can or can't deal with it. I kind of just saw that my credit card limit was getting bigger, and I said, yeah, like, I'm down, like, why not? So you can kind of start seeing the problem here. Let's be very clear that it's just your stated income. I know a lot of people at uni, they have like their own little businesses, they've got their own little side hustles going on. That will never count towards your eligibility for a credit card, okay? So it's the income that they know about that is liable for tax, for example, the income that goes through your bank account that is declared. So yeah, going back to what I was saying, so my credit card limit just kept growing and growing and growing, but my income had significantly reduced because I was working 40 hours and I was now working 14. Now when I found out about the interest applied and things like that, and it became really hard to pay it off, I was offered a balance transfer and I applied for a 0% interest credit card. For that, obviously, for another application, they will run a new check based on my new circumstances. So as opposed to the old credit card application where I was applying for a really, really small amount of loan and I was in a full-time job, I was having regular income that would of course cover that credit amount. Now I was applying for a credit card to cover the limit of my old one. So it was a much greater credit loan amount that I was applying for. However, my income was significantly less now that I was working a part-time job. So of course they didn't accept me, and of course now I'm in this predicament where the only way you can kind of get accepted is if you can just lower that credit limit as much as you can. So if you guys are looking for a credit card to take out, you can do so. It's just very important that you really look at interest rates and you consider your options. Recommendations, I would say that as a benchmark, anything from about 17 to 19.9% interest rate on a credit card, I'd say is pretty okay. If you can get anything less, then you're doing great. Any credit card with 30% and above, I would say be very careful what you get yourself into. If you know you can pay it off, I won't stop you, but the chances are with a credit card, with having those available funds when you need them, take something out you know you can manage even during a dry spell. So take something out you know that if you were to leave your job, if you were to just, you know, take out 2 months just for a breather, you know that you're not going to suffer too much, because what I'm going to show you now is how interest rate works, and hopefully it will kind of make you see what I'm trying to say. So how I'm going to explain this to you is by doing an example situation, because we all love examples. So let's say you've taken out a credit card, right? So this is going to be our little credit card. Long card number, yeah? You've taken out a credit limit, and let's just say that the credit card limit that you've been given is £1,000. So let's do it as a little bar. So this is 0, this is £1,000. I
Really hope that this pen doesn't run out on me, because that's embarrassing.
And let's say this credit card here is at a 30%. Oh, my pen's running out. Let's go get a new one. Pink should do. Right, this should. Let's say you've spent £300. Let's say this much has got spent, okay? So you have used up this, and this is your funds available. Okay, and that's at £700. This is without interest, okay? So you have got £300 that you've used up. And let's say in the first month, what you want to do is you want to pay off £100 out of this loan outstanding. So this money, it doesn't matter, you've still got that to use. This is your kind of debt, this is your liability to yourself. Just look at these as 100 each. So let's say you're just prepared to pay off £100 in 1 month, okay? In essence, how your total credit limit should look should just be £100 out of the 300. So your available funds should now be £800, right? And you've got £200 that you're left to pay off, and you'll pay that off monthly. However, this is where this beautiful number comes in great handy. So out of the £100 that you've paid off towards the credit card, that £100 will be charged at a 30% interest rate. So what's 30% of 100? It's £30. So as you've paid off £100, so let's just kind of shift this by 1. Let's rub that out. So you now kind of have available funds £800. You've paid off the 100. That £100 gets charged at 30%, which means that £30 will get added as a charge, because this interest rate is now a charge of your monthly payment. So in essence, you haven't paid off £100, you've actually only paid £70, because the £30 gets added back on, okay? It gets added back on. I really hope you guys can understand it, and if you can't, please let me know. But yeah, so £30 gets added back onto your credit card limit. So you've only paid £70, so you have basically £230. So if we draw this again, I don't know if this is even in the shot, but if we draw it again with the interest rate, you now have £300 You've paid off £100 at a 30% interest rate. So you pay £100, £30 gets applied from your credit card, so you've only paid off 70. And that is kind of how it goes and grows and everything in between. If you were to do this whole calculation at 19%, what you'd find is that this £30, if you were to pay off 100, would be significantly less. So a credit card at 19% APR rate would just mean that instead of £30 getting added on, it's £19 charge. So what you're left with is what? £81, yeah. So you've paid off £81 and 19%. There's been a £19 charge onto your credit card for using it. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully you guys understand that anything that has a 3 there, you don't want to go for it. Be very, very careful when you take your credit cards out. And I am very cautious of the amount of information I can put on such a public platform like this. So I really, really do encourage you guys, if you have got any questions, if any of this doesn't make sense to you, if anything I've said before doesn't make sense to you, then please, please, please get in touch. Like, comment, subscribe. And email me at dtalks101@gmail.com. Send me your emails, ask me your questions, and I will answer them to my best ability. Hopefully, now you guys understand the concept of how interest rate works, how they're applied to your credit card, and hopefully you guys have some insight as to, you know, what's good and what's not so good about taking out a credit card at a young age. Yeah, that's all from me today, and I'll see you next Sunday, guys.